Liftoff will start in T-minus 10 seconds.
Hey everybody, this is Evan and John, and you're listening to the Boomer and X Show.
Alright, so welcome to the Boomer and X Show. You slipped in some music on me there. What was that?
That was a submission from Howard LaPointe.
Okay, so you did put out a call for some, and so that's something that somebody sent in for us to use on the show.
Yep.
What was the name of it?
It was Crying All Night.
Really?
Yep.
Crying All Night.
It kind of really sad.
Kind of sounded. It kind of sounded like that. Too bad we didn't have that last Sunday night. We could have used it for the Green Bay Packer fans.
Oh yeah,
that was rough. But I don't know. That's kind of old news. I don't really want to spend too much time on that. But anyway, that's a nice song. It kind of sounds like Crying All Night, but it sounded good. I like that. But let's touch on the NFL now, because we've got this big controversy with New England and allegedly some deflated balls.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I can't. I can't hear that without having some juvenile joke come to my mind. I just can't do it. I think you've probably looked into this a little bit more than I have. What are your thoughts on the whole thing?
I don't know. The New England Patriots under Bill Belichick, they do all kind of stuff like this, and this is just them getting caught. We don't know what else they've done. Of course, there's multiple things they've gotten caught for. Of course, innocent until proven guilty.
Now, I read a little bit. I guess I was kind of under the impression that an NFL official was constantly in possession of or overseeing the footballs. But in reading, it seems like that each team is given 12
before the game. That's weighed and everything.
Right.
Yeah.
So then once the team is in possession of
just the ball boys, then give it to the ref.
Okay, now to me that kind of seems like it's
teeing them up for an opportunity.
Right. That I would think the NFL would maybe look at doing something a little different.
Well, they probably will after this. Now, let me ask you this. Like I said, they're innocent until proven guilty, but what do you think?
Well, there certainly seems to be a lot of smoke, and a lot of people are talking about it, and I think a lot of people are talking about it, and these aren't people that are prone to just talk.
It's not like it's just some fan that got mad and said this, and it just was big for a day.
Now,
it's still going on.
Are the deflated balls, are they supposedly easier to catch?
Yeah,
what's the edge?
Easier to grip, I guess. That's I guess what it boils down to,
This particular game, this 45-7.
Yeah.
I think the balls could have been either flat or had 70 pounds of pressure, and it wouldn't have mattered.
And also, they didn't beat them in the air; they beat them running.
But why this game? If they did it, now I'm asking you to sort of speculate a little bit. But if New England Patriots did do something with this. Is this something that they just decided to do in this game, but they've never done it before?
No, I bet they've been doing
it. Then why now do we know about it? Is there some?
I have no idea. I know both the coach and the quarterback are saying that.
Well, I think Brady said he didn't do it.
Well,
which means nothing, because he wouldn't be over on the sideline letting the air out of the ball. So him saying I didn't do it doesn't mean anything.
It would not be done without his approval.
Absolutely.
Bottom line. You're not going to alter the ball and it hurt your quarterback.
Right.
And that's something Troy Aikman commented on. I mean, a lot of times you see them swap out what they think is too slippery, like a pitcher in baseball. Oh, give me another ball, Happens all the time. It's common.
Well, I know that when it's raining or something like that, an official is bringing fresh ball out, and I guess the other one is gone to wherever it be dried off or whatever. I mean, if they only have 24 total, 12 for each team, then I mean you can't do it a whole lot, Yeah. I guess I'm really a little bit surprised that the 12 balls are each given to the teams and then are in the in possession of the team at that point. So it kind of seems like you're maybe leaning a little bit toward thinking there's been some shenanigans.
Oh, I'm not leaning. I'm saying they did it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tell me, disciplinary. First of all, we've got the Super Bowl now is coming up. We're putting this down about 8 days away. Should there be anything done with regards to this coming Super Bowl?
Yes, I definitely think that at least the coach shouldn't be allowed. Bill Belichick shouldn't be out there.
Okay, now do you think there's enough time to find out everything we need to know before the Super Bowl comes up?
No, I don't think. I'm pretty sure they're going to probably purposefully draw this out to where people can't ask for disciplinary action before the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I think but 2015 regular season, yeah, I bet there's going to be something. I mean, if this is true, which I'm pretty sure it is, because they've already been caught before, and all they got was, fines, which I think is all that's going to happen this time too. Just another pat on the wrist.
Right.
But it's just not fair, I don't think.
I have to go back to the Saints situation 2 or 3 seasons ago, where allegedly there were some players that were placing bounties on hurting players from other teams, and this is something that's always bothered me with respect to how that whole thing played out. An NFL game is the most watched, filmed, recorded, observed activity of mankind. I mean, there's dozens of cameras. There are officials. There are millions of fans. It's filmed from more camera angles than a shuttle launch, and we don't even launch shuttles anymore. So, if something is going on, and there were players that were trying to hurt opposing players, there are officials with flags. There's league reviewing film and hand out fines later. Nothing. There was no, to my knowledge, there was no visual evidence of anybody doing anything, and yet the Saints lost draft choices.
So you're still saying it's allegedly it happened?
Show me something that happened other than conversation,
other than witnesses than
conversation, other than talk, other than maybe an email or something. But show me on the field of play something that actually happened that indicated that what the Saints were penalized for was actually taking place.
But like you were about to say, everything that they lost because of that,
right?
The targeting, or what was it?
It's setting a bounty.
Yeah,
bounty. If you knock a player out, setting a bounty, and again, show me the play or the plays that indicated that was actually happening on the field. I don't care about who said what in an email, who said what in the locker room. That means nothing. If it didn't translate to dirty, intentionally harmful play on the field, which again is witnessed by eyes and cameras.
Millions
out the wazoo, then nothing happened. I just never saw the point of the whole thing, and now we've got this, which certainly somebody altering a football out of the field of view, away from where people are watching, the cameras aren't on it. You certainly have more opportunity to actually do something. So let's say they're found guilty. Knowing everything that the Saints lost, draft choices, the coach had to take vacation for a year, what do you think an equal punishment would be for this crime?
Bare minimum, everyone affiliated with the incident cannot be in the Hall of Fame.
Really?
You lose that opportunity.
Wow.
Because cheaters aren't allowed in the Hall of Fame.
So you're saying Belichick and Brady?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Cannot even get a bid, and that's not even coming close to what happened to the Saints.
Wow.
Belichick doesn't get to coach next year.
Okay.
Or whoever was a part of it doesn't get to do anything next year.
Well, they said with the Saints, with Sean Payton, ignorance is no excuse. So if something did actually go down, then he can claim he had nothing to do with it all along. But okay, so no Hall of Fame, no Belichick next year. What about what about monetary fine for the team?
Well, yeah, because they took out draft choices from the
Saints.
From the Saints,
yeah, they did. Now, so far, from what you've read at this point, and again, we're roughly a week into the controversy. There's things to be done yet. Do you think Roger Goodell has dropped the ball on this one?
Sure.
I think so.
Yeah.
He's had a rough year.
Oh yeah. It's been a legally speaking tough year for the NFL.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, do you think this serves as a distraction for New England's preparation for the Super Bowl?
No, because I don't. Like you said, there's nothing going to happen by the time the Super Bowl comes around. So, other than just a bunch of extra press conferences, it's not going to really.
So you think they're prepping
as it's going to go down? Yeah.
So who do you think wins the game?
Seattle by 3.
Seattle by 3. Before all of this happened, I probably would have been leaning toward New England, just because Seattle seems to get more from their home crowd than a lot of teams get. They definitely have a big home field advantage, and they won't have that home crowd and that home environment this time. So I would have been leaning toward New England. Not so sure now. I'll go ahead and stay with that. But
so you're saying that they will be a little rattled by all this?
Well, before all this came out, I was thinking New England is probably my pick to win the game. Now this casts a little doubt on that, as far as I'm concerned. But I'll still. So you pick Seattle. I'll go ahead and pick New England.
Okay.
But I think that does us for football right now, doesn't it?
Yeah.
We take a little break and come back. You and I have seen some Oscar-nominated movies, and how about we take a break and then we come back and we get into some movie chat.
Sweet. All right, that was another offering from Howard LaPointe.
What was the name on that one?
KAS Force, CAS Force, CAS Force.
Okay.
It's Cajun, so who knows?
Okay. Well, I don't know. I mean, I guess there would be a lot of people that do, but I certainly don't.
I was hoping you wouldn't ask me that question.
Yeah. Yeah, sounded good. So, real quick, before we get into the movie talk, just want to mention that we've got some folks up in Canada that are listening to us, and that's cool. And I understand that they have meteorologists up there, and they know what the weather's going to do. But again, even though I'm not forecasting for a living anymore, I follow it, and it looks like they've got a nice little snowstorm headed their way about next Tuesday or Wednesday, which would put it around the 27th, 28th of January. So if they're listening to this after that, it doesn't do them any good.
They can see if you're Nostradamus or not.
There you go. But anyway, thanks and welcome to Canada. So, movie talk. You and I...
Wait, first, I got some trivia for you.
Okay.
What is Canada's national sport?
Curling.
Really? You're going with curling?
No.
Figured you'd say hockey.
It's got to be hockey.
Nope.
No.
It's lacrosse.
Really?
Yeah. It's at least, you know those sports books that people have in their bathrooms?
Yeah, the little like trivia, you know.
I was reading a 20-year-old one.
Okay.
And according to that 20-year-old book, lacrosse is their national sport.
Well, I'll be.
And it's a summer sport. That's what.
Well, it's definitely a warm.
I guess they could do
sport.
it indoors too, but I don't know.
You know who?
That's crazy.
There was a big time from the 50s and or 60s NFL football player that was a college not only football player but lacrosse player, and he went to Syracuse, which is in the far northern United States. And have you ever heard of the running back Jim Brown?
Nope. I've heard of John Brown.
No. Jim Brown. Jim Brown, I'm 99% sure, went to Syracuse, and I'm 99% sure he played lacrosse as well as football. So it really doesn't matter other than Syracuse, New York is pretty dang close to Canada. So there is totally, if there was ever trivia, and trivia means useless information, man, that was trivia to the square root of something.
Nice little nugget of knowledge.
Exactly. Speaking of nuggets, on January 24th, 1848, gold was discovered in California.
How do you know that?
I look up things.
Okay, I thought you were just pulling that out.
Discovered by James Wilson Marshall at his partner's sawmill. Near.
And then I'm assuming that's when the gold rush hit.
The gold rush, and you do know that's how the San Francisco 49ers got their name. Yeah.
You know what's funny is the 76ers. That's when the Constitution was signed.
Declaration of Independence.
Declaration of Independence.
Yeah.
So I knew it was that, but I got the 49ers and the 76ers mixed up. So however I got it mixed up forever, I've thought Gold Rush, 76, Declaration of Independence, 49.
Well, just think of the teams. San Francisco.
Yes. No,
but the year, the 49ers. Right.
Yes.
I mean, you wouldn't name something on the East Coast after the Gold Rush.
That's true.
So there you go.
And now I don't have that confusion, but for a long time I had it mixed up. All right, let's hit movies.
Yeah, movies. We've seen 3 of the 8 nominated so far. We're going to attempt to see as many of them as we can between now and the Oscars.
So we can do as many spoiler alerts as possible.
Yes, so we can just totally destroy all of our lists. No, we got to be careful because, this makes me think. You had the guys like, Siskel and Ebert, who made a living doing movie reviews. Yeah. How the heck did they talk so much about movies without giving too much away? But without giving too much away, we have seen American Sniper, Boyhood, and Selma. And I'll just say this about Boyhood. I figure it's going to be the one we talk about the least of the 3. It wasn't a bad movie. When I heard that it was filmed over a span of 12 years and it followed, the life of a boy who
into adulthood
and into young adulthood. Yeah. For some reason, I just sort of thought it was some sort of documentary or biographical, and that's not the case at all. This was just a movie.
And it just simply followed the cast through 12 years of
life.
And
we did get to see everybody
pretty neat.
aged for 12 years.
And I'm guessing that's the first time that's been done.
I guess so.
It was interesting.
It was interesting. Yeah. The problem, I think, from my standpoint, was that we watched it after watching American Sniper.
I was thinking this during the movie Boyhood. For somebody who doesn't know that this took 12 years to make,
right?
I bet they'll get like a young whoever and then an older, and it's different actors. Mm-hmm. I bet they were like, man, the cast for this is amazing. They look just alike.
The makeup artist. There's your
makeup artist.
There's your Oscar right there. But it was nominated, and again, not to beat on this movie, but in my opinion, it doesn't measure up to the other 2 that we've seen so far. And
like you said, we saw it after the American Sniper, and it was late.
Yeah.
And it's just such a long movie.
It was a long movie. Yes, it was.
And my opinion, I'm just going to throw it out there, American Sniper's got it. So we saw the winner, best in show, and then we watched Boyhood after it, and it's just...
If you're going to watch Boyhood, make sure it's the only movie you're watching that evening.
Yes.
Yeah. Because it is kind of long.
Yeah.
And again, it wasn't a bad movie.
No, not at all. Not at all.
I just didn't think it measured up to the other 2 that we've seen.
So what you want to talk about first?
Let's go with American Sniper. We saw that first.
So what'd you think?
I thought it was an excellent movie. It's hard to find a weak point, really. I mean, now it wasn't a story. I mean, I know it's a true story. It wasn't a story I was all that familiar with. I mean, a little bit.
Me neither.
You've read the book?
No. Actually, I was going to listen to the audiobook.
Okay.
And about a month ago, I'd say probably 2 months ago at this point, I put in to get it, and there was only the library that I get the ebooks from, and only had one available. So I was on a hold and a waiting list, and I was number 16 of 30, I think. Okay. And after the movie came out, opening weekend, I was number 13 of 112.
So if you want to sell a lot of books or have a lot of people read your books, get a Oscar-nominated movie made about your book.
Oh, yeah.
But it was an excellent movie. I thought Bradley Cooper's performance was phenomenal. And,
yes, very good.
And I'm not one to. I mean, I've seen some war movies. It's not something I usually rush out. In fact, American Sniper made me do something I hardly ever do, and is go see a movie on opening weekend. As much as I love movies, a lot of mine I see on HBO or Encore or something on TV. I will catch 2 or 3 a year under normal circumstances in the theater. But I don't know if it was the fact that it was a true story, and the trailers on TV
were amazing.
Man, they were amazing. They
make you hold your breath.
They did. Yeah. They did. They really drew you in. And the movie grossed $105 million on the opening weekend, which is huge.
Probably record setting, I'm guessing.
Probably so, for like a non, major holiday. I mean, it was Martin Luther King weekend, but it wasn't a major holiday. It wasn't a summer release. I'd have to say that there's probably some sort of record, and I'm sure the word of mouth has got to be strong on this. I'm sure it's going to do great this weekend as well.
Well, after it was released, of course, a couple of celebrities attacked it and saying how it wasn't right on with exactly how everything went, and that's fine. Movies are going to be different than the books. Hollywood's going to change some stuff. That's fine. But who was it?
Well, there was Michael Moore.
Yeah, Michael Moore.
The filmmaker, to say that he has a left lean toward his politics, it would be a vast understatement. Look, I know he's going to chime in. There have been times over the years where I was in fairly close agreement with some things he was saying about different topics.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, this movie depicted heroic actions by a real hero.
Yeah.
And I understand that it may not be everybody's things. There are different ways to be heroic. In fact, the next movie that we're going to talk about as soon as we talked about this one, also about a very heroic figure who was complete polar opposite. We have one man who became a hero by killing the enemy. Yeah. And in a couple of minutes, we're going to be talking about another man who became a hero by absolutely
non-violence,
not doing anything toward those that brought harm to him and his followers. So I have enough room in myself to accept both of them as being great, great people and heroic. Again, from what I know, it's. Especially the story of Chris Kyle. Again, it's not one that I know that well, so I'm going on what I've seen in the movie.
Well, he suffered from some pretty serious PTSD, and I mean, who wouldn't come and seeing what he saw?
Absolutely.
And so, but there's something with Jesse Ventura. How apparently there was some fisticuffs going on in a bar or something.
Yeah. Well, but some of these things that he went through afterwards, like the incident at. I don't. Wait a minute. Okay.
There's an incident.
Yeah. Okay. You know what? I think if we start to get deeper into this, we're going to mess something up for somebody.
Okay. So let's see. A way we can give them something without ruining something.
I just what? Big thumbs up to use the old Siskel and Ebert line, or if you want 5 stars out of 5 stars, or a thumb up. or a big fat swollen hit my thumb with a hammer thumb up, or however you can do it. Go see this. You don't have to be a fan of war to see this.
And it's like, of course, the war, all this was going on, was very unpopular.
Right.
But still, the war is kind of just a background to, it's more his story than about the war.
Let me tell you a movie that came out a long time ago that it sort of put me in the mind of just a little bit, because it was driven by a phenomenal performance by an actor, and it was about a real life war hero / personality, and that was Patton. Came out around 1970, played by George C. Scott.
Yes, I remember it well.
Won the
I was negative.
I know you haven't seen it, but you see it sometime.
Yeah,
watch it. It was a great performance, a great movie. I'm almost certain it won the Oscar that year, and I know George C. Scott won for Best Actor. So anyway, you go see it. Can't recommend it highly enough. Next, Selma. You and I, along with your wife Katie, went to see Selma the other night. What did you think?
As far as the movie is concerned, it's amazing. It shed a light on a lot of stuff I had no idea happened, and I want to get into why I think that is. But as far as the movie is concerned, it was incredible. Mm-hmm. What do you think?
I'm going to say the same thing I said about American Sniper. Go see it. You won't regret it. It was a phenomenal movie.
And like I said, I already said I think American Sniper is going to win. But do you think Selma's a good contender?
I do think it's a good contender.
Yeah.
I absolutely do. We're going to do an Oscar show, like right before, the week before the Oscars. So I'm gonna reserve who I think should win until I've seen more. But I will say this: Selma absolutely deserves to be in the conversation and deserves to be a nominee.
Definitely.
I absolutely think so. I'll tell you something that surprised me in the movie. Now, I was alive when all this was going on, but I was very young. I was very young. I wasn't aware of these happenings. As depicted in the movie, I was surprised that President Johnson really had to be dragged kicking and screaming to address this. And what really impressed me as I saw what finally got his attention and got him off of his butt was the First Amendment. Mm-hmm. The press.
Yep. You're right. The power of the press is...
The power of the press.
That's probably when that term was coined then, around that time.
Maybe it could have been.
I'm just guessing.
Could have been something, but those images, and to keep in mind, this was in the early '60s, so television hadn't been around all that long, and certainly no internet or anything. So the ability to get images in front of millions of people at one time was very, very, very new. And when those images of those police officers attacking those people who were peacefully assembled, also within their rights according to the First Amendment, that was very powerful to me, knowing that what if we, the framers of the Constitution, this was put in, again, as in the Bill of Rights. First Amendment was number one, is the first one there. The Bill of Rights came along in 1791. There was no way, obviously there was no way in the 1700s to know what the press was going to consist of this much down the road. The fact that you could transmit images across a whole country. But, I mean, incredibly valuable. And aside from all of the obvious things that we take from the movie, that a great injustice was being done. And there were people that gave their entire everything, their life and everything else to try to right this wrong. Mm-hmm. That's all known, or it should be known, but the power of the press was one thing that really kind of hit me in the face, that without that, nobody knows how long that struggle, just to get the right to vote would have taken.
What you're saying was it was known or should be known? I'll go ahead and say when I was in junior high and was being taught this in my history classes, it was, and that's what hit me, was I had no idea, a lot of this happened. Never heard of Selma, Alabama. I knew it was bad, but the movie just, really sheds a light on it. And so I did more research on the March on Washington, which,
right.
I guess that's ultimately the big one that got most attention.
It's certainly the most
250,000 attendees.
Yeah. So you've done some reading up on, some follow up on it.
Yes, I have.
And?
I've learned a lot. I've learned, and here's what I think is the reason I didn't learn this in school is because, the hindsight we have so many years later, we're kind of ashamed of who we were back then and how we treated African Americans, and we don't want to teach our kids this is how we used to be. We just kind of want to. It was what I was taught was shiny and polished. Way polished compared to what actually happened.
Yeah, I think a lot of our history that we've learned has been cleaned up quite a bit, especially the stuff you're going to learn in
junior high.
In junior high school. And now, college, different story, but certainly. Now, what about the people that were at the March on Washington?
It was 6 different groups.
Organizations?
Yes, organizations. Okay. African American strictly organizations. I can't remember them all off the top of my head. NAACP was one of them. The one Martin Luther King was a part of. There was they all came together, and they all had separate agendas. They all were trying to get a certain law passed. Martin Luther King was big on the voting, and equality, true equality, and one group was wanting equal payment.
Okay. So the March on Washington wasn't merely a group of people gathered there to see Martin Luther King Jr. and only Martin Luther King Jr. speak.
Yes.
Okay.
And which even the movie kind of portrays it that way, but he was just kind of one of the big hitters.
He's certainly the one that's remembered.
They call him the Big Six,
okay.
the 6 organizations that were part of the march.
Right.
During the march, it wasn't just these 6 organizations.
Okay.
It was a lot of white people joined in, a lot of Jews.
Okay.
A lot of Jews joined in. And the Jews know something about oppression.
Jewish, right.
Huge percentage of, not a huge, but a good percentage was Jewish. A lot of clergy.
Okay.
Coming to the aid of their, of Martin Luther King.
And we're not, this March on Washington wasn't depicted in the movie.
No.
So we are not giving
away. We're not
away,
ruining anything.
We're right. We're not giving away anything, so... Yeah. That was in the movie. So,
and that's also where he did his "I Have a Dream" speech, which actually their speeches were looked over. They were pretty much scripts.
Mm-hmm.
They were you can say this, you can't say this. No, not necessarily you can, you can't, but you probably shouldn't.
And who by whom?
I can't remember the guy's name. He was the organizer of all of this. He brought them all together.
So was his purpose to try to keep it from being too inflammatory?
Well, there was a couple, exactly. There was a couple who were, I'm mad at the president, and I'm going to just say bad stuff about the president this whole time. And this guy was like, oh no, kind of tone it down. That's not what we're trying to get done here. So, Malcolm X was there.
Okay.
Now, see, he told his following to not to go, not to march, but he actually went. I don't think he went in support. He didn't speak, but he was there.
Okay. Now, it's on a side note, but you talk about tone it down with regards to aiming it at Lyndon Johnson.
Yes.
Well, he would get his later with regards to the Vietnam War, and to the point where he didn't even, of course, in his term that he was in when this movie was taking place was actually the finish. He was finishing the Kennedy term.
Yeah.
When Kennedy got assassinated, and then President Johnson won his own term.
Yes.
But he was available for a second full term or a third, depending on how you want to look at it. But he didn't even run. He was so unpopular by the time that came in. That would have been 1968.
That's probably the most unpopular war of them all, Vietnam.
I'm not a war historian, but it definitely, So, but anyway, I just wanted to bring that up, that they may have toned it down a little bit toward President Johnson at that point.
He still gets his.
He gets his later on. Yeah, definitely.
So, like I say, they're scripted, and he's reading a speech, and something he says, one of the ladies in the background says, tell him about the dream. And from that point on, he just flying off the seat of his pants. And I mean, I've flown off the seat of my pants before, but not quite like that.
Yeah, I mean, that was
great.
It's an amazing speech.
I looked in the public domain to see if that was available, to see if we could play it.
Right.
But sadly, it's not.
It's not.
It's owned, of course, by the King family. And surprisingly enough, some part of Sony owns some part of it. Yeah, so.
Well, it's more power to Sony, I guess. Now, again, that speech and none of that march is shown in the movie. It may have been referred to, but there were some speeches in the movie that he gave, and very moving. Oh yeah.
And that's just how he, how he was.
Certainly, it's how he was. Yeah. It's how he was, and sadly brought down by an assassin's bullet some years later, and that's 68 or 69. I tell you, a movie that I was, as we were watching it, a movie that came to my mind, and it was released in the late 80s. I'm thinking around 87, 88, and it was called Mississippi Burning, and it was the story of 3 civil rights workers that had come down from the North to help African Americans register to vote in the state of Mississippi. And they went missing and were later found murdered. And the movie then follows the 2 FBI agents played by Gene Hackman and Willem Dafoe that are trying to find out what happened. Now that movie, from everything that I read and heard after came out, was fairly fictionalized.
Okay. Did it win anything?
I don't think so. And again, I think it caused some criticism for taking something that had really happened and really twisting the truth a good bit. But nonetheless, it was a very good movie. It was a very powerful movie. And it's just one that it was just something I was thinking about as I was sitting there watching Selma.
I don't know. I don't know if I would ever get mad about a movie not being real to what actually happened. Unless it said everything in this movie actually happened as you see it.
Yeah.
And then, if that was wrong, I'd be kind of mad. But.
I know some of the things you see at the beginning of movies changed from several years ago. They used to say based on a true story or a true story, and now sometimes you'll see something that says
characters are fictional.
Well, fact-based. It'll say something like that, where they're trying to tone it down a little bit.
Something I liked about both American Sniper and Selma, and I'm not going to ruin anything here, is that they showed real footage that happened in both stories.
Okay.
Like real film.
Yes.
And in the movie.
Yeah.
So they did show what actually, has happened in real life. So with that, I'm trying to choose my words going wisely here.
Well, both excellent. I'm glad I saw both of them. Over the coming weeks, we're going to attempt to see some more of these movies that are Oscar nominated and talk about them. And again, about 4 weeks from now, when we get to the Oscars themselves, we'll talk about that a good bit. I know you read a lot. Is there anything book-wise that you're working on right now that you want to talk about or maybe allude to for later?
I'm reading The Audacity of Hope by, at the time, Senator Barack Obama. And I'm doing that more in just research for, we want to do a President's Day episode. Right. And so I'm reading that right now.
Have you recently read anything that is a current movie?
Recently. As far as a year recent, I read a series actually, and it's called The Maze Runner. That's the name of the first one.
Okay.
And it's it's sci-fi. It's kind of teens and up, But I was reading it, and as soon as I finished the first one, I immediately read the second one. As soon as I finished the second, I had to read the third. Had to, and after I got done, I was like, "This has to be a movie." And 8 months later, The Maze Runner is out in theaters. And what's funny is I had to read all these books, and it has to be a movie, and I hadn't even seen it yet. I think it's on DVD probably now.
Okay, so it's come and go as far as theaters.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, so you obviously like the book.
Yeah, it was good.
Assuming, so based on that, you would say the movie's probably?
If the movie stays close to the book, it's going to be a great movie.
Yeah.
As far as that genre goes, it's going to be a good movie.
I don't read a whole lot. most of my reading is articles I find on the internet. I can read in 5 or 10 minutes and I'll move on to the next one. I don't read books the way you did. I saw a movie several years ago, and it was called 21, and it was about the kids that were the college students that were going to MIT. They were students, math whizzes, and they made several trips out to Vegas.
Yes.
And hit Vegas for a lot of money. I enjoyed the movie so much, I then got the book and read the book, and there was a lot of difference between the movie and the book.
Yeah.
One thing that I thought was interesting in the book, and this was when they first started putting riverboat casinos in Louisiana, those kids actually made a trip to Bossier City.
Cleaned them out?
They got the crap scared out of them.
Oh.
Some
gave them some Southern hospitality.
They gave them some Southern hospitality because, in Vegas, you got a few kids, and, and it's easier to blend in, and you go in there and you win a 5 figures worth of money. You're not going to get much attention. You do that stuff in Bossier City, especially
throw you in the lake, in the river.
Especially back in the 90s when that was just getting off of the ground. And let's just say they never went back there.
Well, I bet.
So, anyway, just an interesting side note about book and movie comparisons. We'll try to do this again next week and talk about some more movies and whatever else we can come up with.
Something I'm just remembering. I saw they call it the American Sniper Workout now. And it's exactly what Bradley Cooper did. To get in shape to look like Chris Kyle. And what's funny is Bradley Cooper actually was on the phone with Chris Kyle, and something Chris Kyle told him was, "We're going to have to find a way to knock the pretty off of you and roughen you up." Yeah, so I thought that was pretty funny. But the workout, I looked at it, and it is intense. It's intense. And something Bradley Cooper would do is he put a picture of Chris Kyle up there and would look at it while he worked out just to. And he said it helped him get in the mindset because the workout was so brutal.
Right.
It helped him get in the mindset of just the little bit Chris Kyle had to go through as a Navy SEAL.
Right.
So I thought that was something neat to mention.
Certainly, a lot is asked of someone that's going to be a Navy SEAL.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. Is that good for the night?
Yeah, it's good for me.
I think so too. Thanks again for joining us here at the Boomer and X Show, and we certainly appreciate you. We appreciate the input, and we'll do everything we can to keep you entertained and informed to the best of our ability.
Yep.
And
if you want to send us any topic ideas, just hit us up on theboomerandxshow at yahoo.com. Of course, we're always available on our Facebook page, The Boomer and X Show. What else we got? Go to our website. Hit us up on iTunes. Give us some reviews. We always love hearing feedback, even if it's bad. I mean, we want to know if we're being boring. So.
Right. It's just that we pay $10,000 for the good stuff.
Oh yeah.
We do not. Somebody probably promised $10,000.
Maybe one day we'll do like a signed Boomer and X T-shirt.
There you go.
Raffle off a T-shirt or something.
One day.
Yeah, that's big timing right there. Though.
That is big timing. Okay. Again, thanks a lot, guys. Have a great upcoming week, and we'll do this again soon.
Thanks. See ya.